Some called it ridiculous. Others say it's the greatest piano trio album of all time. You've got Charles Mingus, a powder keg of talent and temper, kicked out of Duke Ellington's band once for attacking trombonist Ron Teasdale. You've got Max Roach, one of the best drummers who ever lived, an intellectual band leader who demanded only the best from his sidemen. And then there's Duke, a seemingly untouchable legend. Nobody told him what to do. All three of them in a studio, one day of recording. It's money jungle. Does it work? I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music Explored.
Explored, brought to you today by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for all your jazz lesson needs. Peter Martin.
Yes.
Welcome into the show. Are you prepared for perhaps the most tense album we've ever listened to?
Yes.
Here on the You'll Hear It podcast. Are you ready for this?
I think I'm ready for it. This is a controversial record, I think. This is a very interesting record. It's a weird record, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there.
Yeah?
This is not a great record.
This is not your favorite.
Well, not only is it not my favorite, for sure, I don't think this is a great record, and I just want to kind of say that because I know that this is apparently a beloved record.
One of our most requested records here on the You'll Hear podcast. This is, of course, Money Jungle by Duke Ellington, Charles Mingus, and Max Roach. It is a veritable supergroup of jazz musicians who were around in the early 60s. This was released in February 1963, recorded in September 1962 at Soundmakers in New York City on the United Artists label, although I think eventually it would move to Blue Note, is that?
Well, I think they got bought up by the whole EMI Toshiba, so it was released. When I first heard this in the 80s, mid-80s, it was released on CD.
Yeah.
Actually, similar format to this with a couple of the alternate takes, not all of them. But on Blue Note. It was also remastered, I believe, and maybe even remixed. I'm not sure. And I just want to put it out there. I didn't mean to be harsh by saying, I should have said, I believe that I don't think this is a great album, but I'm open and I'm excited to explore it with you and with our dear listeners. And look, let's just put it out there. Not everything is supposed to be great to everybody. You know what I mean?
Well, it couldn't possibly be.
It couldn't. And
although this podcast is pretty much batting 1,000, as we know.
But I think that one difficulty we have within the jazz world, and this podcast is just about great music and exploring music together and celebrating music.
Not just about great jazz. This is about great music that we love.
Yes. And because this is a record that I know a lot of people love, it's important, right? Whenever something stands the test of time, it's not about and we're going to pick it apart. And I've got notes, my friend. Well, but that doesn't mean that it's not valid. Your opinion is just as valid as my opinion. Just because we're music podcasters or jazz pianists, I don't think that gives us any more authority to say what somebody likes or not. But for me, I'm such a fan of all three of the artists that are on here.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, you nailed why it's even worth giving this album a shot in the first place, is because it is these three heavyweights. And, Mingus and Max Roach are kind of in their prime right now. I mean, they're right in it. And we'll get to Duke Ellington and his later career. I have a hot take on this, actually. Okay. But I think this is some peak Duke Ellington. He's had many peaks, obviously, by this point. I think he
peaked a week later.
Well, we could talk about that for sure. But it's to me,
as a pianist,
I really enjoy this album. This is not like a monthly listener for me, but I've been a fan of it since I was a teenager. And I come back to it occasionally because it's such an incredibly crazy document of a very tense day between three very larger-than-life personalities, three mega talent musicians. And Big personalities. The question, does it work? I think that just kind of depends on what you're looking for as work. If you're looking for something that's just like toe-tapping, feels good, feels bright and shiny, this is not that.
Yeah, but I'm going to start to push back a little bit on that in terms of, yes, I mean, there's a lot of things. We don't always want happy toe-tapping, let's go back to the swing era. It's not about that. But I think that there is, for me, the production on this record, the engineering, is of such poor quality. I would say somewhat objectively poor quality.
I agree with that.
The piano is not, the recording is some of the worst I've ever heard of Duke Ellington.
Agreed.
Even going back to the 30s, the piano's out of tune. Now, we could say, well, none of these are incredible artists. It's like, no. I mean, yes, they're great artists, but that doesn't mean they're great artists every time. And I think it's part of our lionizing of these artists, we give it a disservice in jazz when we're like, the production doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, it kind of does.
Before we get too much further into it, let's listen to a little bit. This is the opening track, the title track, Money Jungle. Charles Mingus on the bass, Max Roach on the drums, Duke Ellington on the piano.
I do like the way this record starts.
It's killing.
I mean, it definitely sets the tone, right? Menacing. He is menacing.
Mingus.
I don't know. I mean, that's the only word I can think of. Man. Like his choices of what to play.
He was a powder keg. I mean, this is like notoriously kind of a frighteningly angry musician.
Yeah.
Well, and look, huge player.
I know, but all that is like,
enormous artist, but.
I'm just saying music, even if you didn't know any of that, I think we have to take the document for what it is, right? So like the music as it unfolds, but like he's menacing in terms of, it's not only is he not really supporting what's being played, I don't know, it just, like those first 30 seconds are so great, and to me it just starts to fall apart. I feel bad because I'm talking over this and I want people to judge it on their own. I mean, there's good stuff happening, obviously.
So this whole album recorded in a day. This is obviously a minor blues, Money Jungle.
I mean, are they locked in? Is Charles Mingus and Max Roach as a rhythm section locked in? I don't think they are. And I think
there's just so much tension, isn't there?
Well, I mean, tension is fine. I'm saying, are they locked in as a rhythm? Like they're swinging. It's not like there's only one way to swing, but they're playing a groove, and I feel like it's throwing. It sounds to me like they're throwing off.
But is Mingus playing a groove? He'll leave that groove and go.
I mean, he starts out at the beginning. He's like, ding, ding. But I mean, Max is
what he's doing here.
He's menacing. I mean, what happened to like support the soloist? Hello.
I don't think it's about
like Duke's
that
playing
now.
some nice stuff, but he can't. Between the sound of the piano and like what Mingus is doing, I mean, I think Max Roach is doing the best that he can. I'm not trying to blame this on Mingus. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like every time you kind of want to get it in there, it's like in terms of the groove.
All right, so it should be.
It's a minor blues. Like that's the other thing. This is a 12-bar minor blues. It's not that you can't play it any way you want. That's fine. But the expectation when you start a record like this and Duke is playing the way he is, there's one way the rhythm section has to play. But Max Roach is playing that, and like it's great that Mingus brings his thing to this, but the tension is like there's no establishment of the groove outside of those first. I feel like this cut, and in some ways this album peaks at the first 30 seconds of this first track. There's beautiful places
hard disagree
that come
on that. There's some really great moments.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, man. We always talk about like the first track sets the tone. I mean, again, this is just. If somebody listens to this and is like, "Oh my God, it's so inspiring," that's great.
Well, just for some context, there was a lot of tension at this session. So this is a one-day session. You know, Max Roach is complaining apparently about Mingus's playing to everybody that'll listen during the session. But Mingus kept playing louder and louder, almost defiantly, which is why I'm saying, like, I think Charles Mingus had some just unresolved personal issues with some of this. These guys, by the way, I think had all played together in various combinations at some point. Like, Mingus
and Max Roach had both played with the Duke Ellington Orchestra when they were young.
At certain times. That's right. Like, and famously, we talked about this in the Mingus episode, that Mingus got kicked out of Duke's band
because he got in a fight with Juan Teasel,
right? Composer and there was various stories about that. But even just a few years earlier, 7 years before this, Charles Mingus made a quartet record plus Max Roach. This is Haitian fight song. So they're playing together. It's not like they're like don't like each other. You know what I mean? They're playing together.
No, I mean, didn't Mingus recommend, like Max Roach was the first, when he was talking to Duke Ellington, or maybe it was the other way around, that I think Mingus said, I want Max Roach. That's what's going to make this happen.
Absolutely.
And Duke Ellington was like, cool.
And by the way, just a little bit of lead up for all of this. I can't believe we would have to do this, but if you don't know like how we got here in the first place, Duke Ellington was in his 60s at this point. He was 63 years old when he made this. He was one of the most famous musicians on the planet at that time and had been for the last 30, 40 years, starting with... Now that's locked in.
1938. There's elements of this production that are superior to Money Jungle.
I agree. Don't mean to think if it ain't got that swing. Also... You might recognize this one.
That's a better piano sound.
It's a Billy Strayhorn composition, Take the A Train.
Yeah.
Huge star, Duke Ellington. Max Roach came up playing, is a generation, or maybe even a generation and a half younger than Duke Ellington, came up playing with bebop musicians like Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie and Bud Powell, but famously had a breakthrough with Clifford Brown.
Some of the great, how have we not done this route? Can we sub this in today?
We got to do
this. Man, that drum sound.
Oh, the production
is Mercury.
Superior. 10 years earlier, by the way.
Piano sound, Richie Powell. Woo. That's Sonny or Harold Lamb? Oh, they're about to swing out.
That's locked in.
No, it is.
Okay.
And I know what lovers of this record are saying to me right now. Oh, okay, Boomer, you want it to go back to just spang-a-lang and spang-a-lang.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But there's some more context I want to put in here. So just a couple years before Money Jungle, Charles Mingus he had been building his reputation for years and years. Again, came up playing bebop with some of those heavyweights, but started making his own albums, had the breakthrough. We did this last season, 1959's Mingus
one of the most important jazz records.
Horace Parliament.
Yeah.
Again,
the production level.
You should check out our episode last season for that one.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
But you might remember on that album, Open Letter to Duke.
Yep.
The name of the track is Open Letter to Duke. So Mingus paying homage here to one of his heroes.
He was a massive, you hear it in his music, his greatest, all of his music. Like, is there a bigger influence on Charles Mingus in terms of his compositions than Duke Ellington? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But just, again, in the lead up to Money Jungle, Max Roach had started making some really important music with a message. 1960s, We Insist.
We Insist, yeah.
This is Tears for Johannesburg. This is a masterpiece. I think We Insist is unbelievable. This is 3 years before Money Jungle.
Yeah.
I would love to listen to this with you at some point too. It's great. Let's
switch this one in today.
All those These
are great records.
Well, I wanted to play Tears for Johannesburg because it does kind of like, there is some DNA in this. It's around the same, in relatively same time period for Max Roach. And the sort of vibes, and I think the message and the sort of, I want to say like the sensibility of these three musicians was actually a lot closer than the tension in this album would make us believe was there.
Mm-hmm.
The next track is Fleurette Africaine.
That's stunning bass work.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, but that piano. Oh, sorry. The tuning. Shout out to the producer for not getting the piano tune. Sorry. It matters.
Fleurette Africaine.
Okay.
Just gorgeous. I think it's gorgeous.
I think it's great up until about 30 seconds before. Okay, not even talking about the piano tuning. That's not anybody's fault that's playing on the record, but it is somebody's fault, and it is part of the whole package of it, and it takes away from it.
The piano sound is atrocious.
It's atrocious. Yeah. And Mingus, it's stunning what he starts with, but what he starts doing around here is like, if you listen to what he's playing all through like the rest of the track, I mean, yeah, he's playing some beautiful stuff, but it's like it's very incongruous with what Duke is playing. Now, this is an incredible, this I think was the first time he ever recorded this song. And this is a beautiful, this was originally called La Plus Belle Africaine. It's one of, you know, Duke's not his most famous songs, but it's been covered a bunch really well.
Beautiful song.
It's a beautiful song. You know, newsflash, but not only by 1962 was Duke a great composer, that was many years before.
Yeah.
So like, there's no quibble bit that I have with the compositions, which are all Duke's, except for Caravan. Actually, not
Juan Teasel.
Yeah, but I mean, these are all, and there's, I guess, a whole story about that, how
Mingus' nemesis.
Mingus were salty because they were going to, you know, the plan was to share. But I just think that track is, as beautiful as that song is, this is not a great version of it after you get past about a minute and a half.
I really love what Mingus does in the beginning of it.
I agree.
It's an incredible choice, and also it's...
But I mean, like this is the thing. There's great moments on this record. These are great musicians, but I'm saying it's not like... We do a disservice if we say, because it's great musicians, it doesn't matter what the production is. It doesn't matter if they, maybe for good reason, you know, because there's some not altercations, but whatever, acrimony in the studio. That's fine. Yeah. But then that doesn't mean, but like, I think it's to say, but they transcended all that and made a great record.
No one's saying that, but you have to admit, having 3 of maybe the top 10 musicians of their eras on their instruments in the studio together, and the fact that there is a story of there was acrimony in the studio. And it's like, what is going to happen?
It makes it interesting, but it doesn't make it great. It's like George Clooney and who's the Pretty Woman actress? Sorry, Julia Roberts.
Yeah, yeah.
They made a movie a couple of years, both incredible actors, I would say, right?
Yeah.
They made a movie together
a
couple years ago on Netflix. I don't know if you saw it.
I did see it, yeah.
Did you think that was a great movie?
Not a great movie.
Right. Yeah. But that doesn't mean they're not great. And we could say, oh, but to have 2 of our generations.
Don't come for us, George and Julia.
George Clooney's friend of the pod, friend of ours. But no, but I'm saying like, it was a romantic comedy. I don't remember the whole thing. Whatever. It's on an island or something. So you could say probably 2 of our
getting back together.
Best actors of this generation, especially for romantic comedies. So of course, like no one says, "Oh, that was great." They're like, it didn't quite come together." And I think it's okay in jazz, in classical, perhaps, and maybe some other genres, but definitely in jazz, we have a problem with this. Like I think it's a disservice to tell people this is one of the 10 greatest jazz albums of all time.
Who did that?
Well, I mean, I've seen it on a lot of lists. Oh my God, this shows up all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that like, well, in my opinion it is. People do it because, I mean, yes, it's maybe a contrarian pick. I mean, guilty as charged. I did a whole YouTube video with 10 contrarian picks, but they were all ones that I love. I feel like this is a record that people say they love because they get shamed into it a little bit. And I was a little bit one of those.
I don't know
I
if
will
you
say that.
Well, so what's your history with this then? When did you first listen to this?
You sure about that?
You sure about that?
I mean, I listened to this like on CD. It was recommended to me by Wynton Marsalis, I believe. I mean, it was being recommended a lot around that time. I think he gave me some incredible record recommendations, and I'm pretty sure this is one of them. And it was just coming out on CD, so there was a little bit of resurgence in that. And yeah, anyway, I don't think it's. I also don't think it's. I don't think we can just make a record important because we say it's important, or because there's three masters and they got into a fight at the studio on the day and somebody stormed out. That doesn't make a great record. It makes a great story. Makes a great story.
Can I give you my take on this?
Please.
On why this makes these lists. First of all, I think that if you're of a certain sensibility, there is something interesting about hearing what would these guys do in one day in the studio together. And just because it didn't come out in the way that you might expect, it's still kind of cool to hear, right?
For sure.
The idea of, if you're a fan of all three of these guys, which I am, it is interesting to hear their choices here, and especially following Duke's lead. I love the idea. I mean, there's no getting around the story of
following Duke's lead. Well, Max Roach kind of does.
Well, that's what's so interesting is, what is Charles Mingus thinking?
I know.
What is he thinking? This is great. This is
super intriguing.
But this is what great art does. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't even have to be like sound good. This is an art record, and this is like, it makes you question like, what the hell is going on here? And that's fun. That is a great intellectual exercise. Now, does that make it a commercially viable album or whatever? I mean, does it deserve to be on these lists? I think for some people, the packaging is unbelievable. It's one of the best titles of a jazz album ever.
For sure.
Money Jungle is an incredible title of an album, of a song. The front cover, black and white picture, Duke, in his 60s.
Shout out Jazz Wax Time.
Our other two, in the generation before.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, and I think that does a lot of heavy lifting for people's imaginations about what happens in this. But I will say, Peter, you are not alone, and you're in actually some very good company. Miles Davis hated it. In 1964, Downbeat magazine presented Miles with a few unnamed tracks and asked for his impression. They played Caravan from Money Jungle, and he said he couldn't rate it, and record companies should be kicked in the ass for releasing it. He says, quote,
harsh.
Miles says, quote, "What am I supposed to say to that? That's ridiculous. You see the way they can fuck up music? It's a mismatch. They don't complement each other. Max and Mingus can play together by themselves. Mingus is a hell of a bass player, and Max is a hell of a drummer, but Duke can't play with them, and they can't play with Duke."
I mean, that's hyperbole going over, but I mean, he's not wrong, is he?
I mean, to
say he can't play. Of course, they can play together, but I kind of agree with that.
Track 3, very special.
Yeah. Oh wait, before we go to this?
I love this tune.
Yeah,
By the way, this is like Take the Coltrane Light.
Totally.
Yeah.
One of the thing about communication you were saying, and about acrimony in the studio, I want to just point out, and maybe we can catch these as we go so that we don't have to listen to them all at the same time, but there's some very interesting things happen at the end of some of these tracks.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that they're little musical FUs to each other,
really? Okay,
which would make sense, and it's one of the most intriguing things.
Is there one at the end of Very Special?
I can't remember about
a very special ending,
but Money Jungle there is. If you want to maybe listen to the way that Money Jungle ends.
Let's go to the very end of Money Jungle.
Yeah.
What do you mean by a musical FU?
Well, I mean, just Max wants to get the last word in, which is great. It just sort of, to me, this is one of the more intriguing, like you talk about intriguing, like there's kind of musical battle, and then finally Max is like, done, stop.
What is going on in here?
That might not have been happening. Maybe there was a love fest, but no, it sounds like that.
According to all accounts, it was not a love fest. All right, let's check out Very Special. I love this tune, actually.
Okay. Oh, this has a great FU at the end, actually. It does. I remember now. That. It really sounds like Mingus is throwing Duke off. Man, Max is swinging.
I don't know, man. That's pretty pretty good.
This is someone. This is no. I mean, it's.
Everybody, I think we're turning Peter.
Newsflash, Duke Ellington's a hell of a jazz pianist. But a week later, the whole rhythm section's really swinging.
That's true.
You know, I'm not going to say just, but they're playing over a 12-bar blues, right?
Yeah.
And they're not entirely locked in. You know, I mean, Duke Ellington is like, if you compare the way he's playing over this to with Coltrane and them, I'm not saying you have to play it the same way, but you're playing the same kind of tune.
I don't know, man. I like what's going on here.
Duke's playing better.
It's a different vibe.
Man, Duke's playing, I mean, like...
Well, the piano sounds way better.
The piano sounds better, and that's all part of it, but like, he just sounds more comfortable, which is fine. I mean, there's always going to be different comfort levels. I mean, Duke, a little bit uncomfortable still is going to be great.
All right, I want to hear the FU, the musical FU at the end of this one, too.
He's already starting it. You hear? Charles Mingus.
Oh, that's just the standard.
Yeah,
that's standard. Okay, so you mentioned what happened a week later. Oh,
but that track they ended really abruptly. If you hear before this, it's just kind of like done.
About a week and a half after they recorded this album, Duke Ellington, who, and I might go into a little tangent here, but Duke recorded with another musician who is a generation younger than him.
Yep.
An album called Duke Ellington and John Coltrane, with Duke Ellington and incredible tenor saxophonist John Coltrane. We listened to a little bit of that, and I think in season 12 when we listened to that sort of
ballads,
like Coltrane ballads thing.
Yeah. The impulse stuff.
And the opening track on that is called Take the Coltrane, another blues, and it sounds like this. Very, very, like, very special-ish.
Yep.
So good. So you're right, though. Duke Ellington on the Duke Ellington and John Coltrane album does seem a little more comfortable, well, a lot more comfortable than he does on Money Jungle, probably because...
Would you say he sounds better?
I would say he's playing more comfortably. Like he seems a little freer. I do agree with you that Mingus might be throwing him a little bit on some of this stuff, as Mingus would throw anybody, honestly, with what he's doing. But
I think too, and I don't want to just say it was just on Mingus, because if you accept that Mingus and Max Roach were not really locked in on a lot of this, that's going to throw off the piano. I'm like, the trio is such
it would throw off anybody.
Yeah, it's like, it's the three, but there is still that rhythm section, like if that thing isn't there. But
there's a reason why Oscar Peterson always sounds swinging. He's Oscar Peterson, but always Ed Thigpen and Ray Brown are always locked in.
And look, the argument can be made that like Oscar Peterson never put himself out on the ledge like Duke Ellington
100%.
did here. So that's valid, you know. But then again, like not everybody has to do everything. I'm just like, because we have a comparison a week later and like a couple years before with what I think for Duke Ellington to me is a much superior. Like we're just talking about his playing. I mean, the compositions. I don't think there's different levels to his composition, but I've never heard like a bad like these blues are some like. I know he wrote some of these in the studio. Like he could just do that.
There was
like,
no
these
rehearsal
are not
to any
master,
of this, by the way. There was no rehearsals. They were just going for it.
Yeah, but he could do that, you know.
Can I give you my Duke Ellington hot take?
Yes.
So,
please.
You know, as we've gotten older, I don't know about you, but I've been paying attention to certain musicians now for their whole careers, right? So it's like someone like you or like Brad Mehldau. I've known you since before you and I actually knew each other. Or Brad Mehldau or Herbie Hancock. I've known Herbie Hancock my whole life, essentially. And I've watched what he's done. By the way, I don't know if you know this. Herbie, amazing musician.
He's good.
Incredible.
Send me a playlist.
Herbert Hancock, undeniably great. No, but it's interesting to watch people as they have the arc of like their initial popularity when they really hit, and then when the sort of culture shifts them out of the zeitgeist to a new zeitgeist.
Sinatra, remember?
We talked about it with Sinatra.
Oh, that was right around the same time.
And then to see how they respond to that and what they do. Yeah. And I'm going to put out my hot take on this entire album is that this is the start or maybe the middle of a run in Duke Ellington's last stage of his career, or maybe, penultimate, last 10-ish years, that he does better than almost anybody. He shifts from being one of the most famous musicians in the world, who owns the swing genre, who invents so many of the musical fingerprints that we all still lean on today, honestly, or orchestration-wise, composition-wise. Even just the setup of how a band owes a lot to Duke Ellington and his work in the 20s and 30s and 40s. But in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, early 70s, right before he passes, he goes into this phase of making incredible art. He shifts to be this art musician, making art songs, collaborating with younger musicians, making these suites, these elaborately composed and arranged pieces for his big band, and collaborating with all of these musicians, recording a ton when he's in his 60s and 70s. And I just think it's like he nailed this better than almost anybody. I would put the only person who's maybe
like an artistic final act.
The only person who's maybe done this better, but not on the scale of Duke Ellington, is someone like Charles Lloyd, who's perhaps better now than he was at his first peak. You know what I mean? But Duke Ellington nails his final act. He's not trying to be, I mean, he's still touring around with doing that stuff, but he's also making Money Jungle. He's like taking risks when he doesn't have to. He could just coast on, take the A train forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with what you're saying in terms of this period. And I mean, he did stuff with the big band that was talk about the New Orleans suite,
incredible.
And I agree with that, but I just think this is a miss in terms of that. Like, I love that he took this chance, and you're right. Like, but I mean, if we say everything is great art just because Duke Ellington put his hands on it, I think that just does a disservice. I'll read this. And I think this is not to restrict anybody from loving this record. I hope, like, different strokes for different folks, right? All I'm saying is, like, we can believe and understand and appreciate and revel in this final act for, I don't want to say final, it was a long, 10, 12 years. This beautiful period at the end of his artistic career. We can celebrate that and like understand the arc. Unlike some artists, they do their thing and whatever, that he was like a crescendo and like he stayed relevant artistically. It's not about, I'm going to play rock and roll because that's where the wind's blowing. It's just like he wants to try different things. He's out of let's try it. I think we can appreciate that and sit in that truth of that without saying that everything that he touches is going to be a great document. That's my only thing. And so
that's subjective, though. I mean, this is a big swing. I'll give you that.
But
swing. And you say it's a miss, but I think for a lot of people, this was a hit.
Right. But I think for a lot of people, it's a hit because they're told it's a hit. And that's just what I want to give people a license. I know I was like that. So am I personalizing this too much? Maybe a little bit.
I mean, but I think a lot of people genuinely I like I said, I'm not listening to this even once a year, but whenever I come back to it, I'm like, oh, it's so weird, and what a cool idea, and it kind of is a mess.
I agree with both of those.
It's kind of a mess, and it's kind of great at the same time that it's a mess.
I agree with everything but that part.
I'm just saying, all I'm saying is mad respect to Duke Ellington for even trying stuff like this. I mean, if you think about Louis Armstrong, the greatest musician of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Up there.
He tried weird stuff.
Well, but he also just did a lot of his last act was a lot of Hello Dolly and recording pop songs that he's singing and really embracing sort of the celebrityness of his persona. And Duke certainly had that. He's doing this probably better than almost anybody except for maybe Miles, but Miles is a different story altogether.
Yeah. No, I agree. He should be celebrated for this and for taking the risks and trying different things. I don't think that the expectation, it's just weird in jazz how we're like, oh, because he did this and because these greats are together and because the album cover is great, then this is a great album. And that we can't talk about the production and like that can kill a record. It doesn't mean like that you set the bar when the production is at a lower level. The bar has to be set so high for the performance to come through. It's like we talk about listening to the early Louis Armstrong recordings where because of the technology, the recording, like he transcends the technology of the microphones and like where he's going to be placed, where you can hear that beauty and humanity. And so, look, I'm not saying, come on, Duke, play it back like you did in the 30s and 40s when it was the good old. No, that's not. Like I say, we have a week later to prove. I just think his playing is just so much better. When like anybody, I mean, Duke Ellington's a human piano player. He's great, but I mean, like you got to have the stuff. I mean, sometimes you go in there and it just doesn't quite click.
All right, I'm going to try to.
Can I just throw this out there too? Okay, Jazz and Lincoln Center website that has this as one of the 10 great or 10 essential jazz piano albums. And this is where I think there's a little bit of danger. Despite being praised mainly for his big band endeavors, Duke Ellington's trio work proves to be a treasure all of its own. The collaboration between a young Max Roach and Charles Mingus with the seasoned band leader offers up a dazzling post-bop mishmash of a trio album. That's just not even true. Duke's original compositions offer a free canvas for exquisite improvisation, blending the styles of each musician, yet preserving their individual artistry, all while securing Duke's spot in the pantheon of jazz greats. It's just such a, I mean, even
Thank you, Claude.
What's he say?
Thank you, Claude.
I know. It's like an AI. I don't know. Like the thing is, I like your take on this. It's like weird and like experimental 100%. Art music. Yeah, but then it's like, say that. This is an important, an essential jazz album because stuff happened on here that had never happened before, and it's gonna challenge your brain, and it's gonna, I mean, say something, but don't be like, this is a great yada 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 trio record, because it's not in that vein. Maybe there is something I'm missing. I remain humble with this stuff, and I'll always come back to it.
Well, especially like if you look at the trio records from around this time by people like McCoy Tyner, by people like Bill Evans, by people like, well, I mean, Herbie Hancock and his quartet,
Kelly.
Quinn Steff, Wynn Kelly, really incredible stuff going on.
Sonny Clark.
But I'm going to try to get you back again. I'm going to take you to a warm valley.
So this is, I think, from the 30s. I mean, this is 39, 40. Beautiful.
It kills him every time. You know, it's Peter's soul leave his body.
Just so you know, the piano's out of tune. If it doesn't bother you, that's great, actually, because it's a drag. This is great, but it's not Duke's like best solo piano playing capture. It's going to be great all the time, but like there's little things in it that are... And his touch is incredible, like his phrasing,
What do you say, Peter, to the people, just to counter again your point of some of this stuff, to sort of the piano out of tune and the sound quality of this gives it that like sort of wabi-sabi of like, it's not perfect, right? It is flawed. And
maybe.
So to some people, that is a feature, not a bug, you know?
We'll talk about flawed when the rhythm section comes in, I think. Well, no, it's just so, it takes away, like you want them to come in and check it out. Oh, out of tune and like, and why is
the
he
relentless
walking
hate
there?
is so,
it's not,
I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
No, we're talking
it's
like,
great.
No, I'm saying this is not an F or a D.
So it's not art. You put an F in front of it.
Of course it's art, but it's just not. This is just not like there's a lot of other Duke Ellington. He recorded a lot. This is a lot of better stuff of him playing. It's a great composition. I mean, this is an amazing one of his. It's not even his most popular. So just playing it, it's going to be good, even on a crappy piano.
But again. What if the rawness is something that people find attractive?
If that's so, that's great. I just don't want people doing it because they're like, oh, this is a great record, so I have to like it.
There's definitely some of that.
This is an important record.
There's definitely some like...
I got you.
There's definitely some cheesy dude who's just like, I love Money Jungle, babe. You know,
we're
like...
get to the snobometer on this.
Well, for sure. But like, I do think a lot of people appreciate sort of like how kind of funky all this is, you know? That was Warm Valley.
Wait, is there?
Oh, is there a musical?
No, I don't think there is at the end.
Okay, I don't want to miss a single one of those. Next up is this might be
Wigwise has a great one.
This is my favorite. This might be my favorite.
What's up next?
Wigwise.
Oh, wait.
I love this tune. It sounds like Monk.
Yeah. Weird tune though. This guy like cool change, then goes to a blues.
I love
in
that
another key.
Contrary motion thing that happens. I think it's swinging.
I mean, it's fine. It's just weird. I don't know. And yes, it is swinging. But swing is not binary. It's not like it's not swinging or it is. I mean, sometimes, but it's not like it's not all the way in there to me. That's all. See, Mingus and Roach are not. I hate to say I'm not trying to be like, oh, these guys can't play. And this is the problem in jazz too. It's like you can't say anything. I'm just like they're not locked in right now.
Well,
and you could say, well, that's an artistic decision.
It wasn't.
But they're just playing a straight blues.
But they really were having problems in this session.
Well, okay, but you should. But that's like, okay, they bring you out your dinner that you ordered at the restaurant, and it's like, you know, something's undercooked or whatever, and you're like, this isn't right. No. They're having problems in the kitchen. Like, you're not going to accept that as you know, as a diner, as somebody that's eating that food. And so with this, it's like, yes, this is high art, but it's just music for people to enjoy. And you shouldn't, I don't know. I mean, yes, that's the causation of maybe, you know, this. And I think that's why it's not some of Duke's best playing, because the rhythm section's not locked in. Whatever, the acrimony, the piano doesn't sound great. And so because you have incredible artists, that's going to push it up more than, you know, me playing it. Yeah, but it's not going to make it great.
At some point during the recording, Max Roach said something to Mingus that made him stop what he was doing, put the cover on his bass, and storm out. Duke ran out after him and convinced him to come back. Producer Alan Douglas said, "That's one of the visuals I will never forget. I remember leaning out the window, looking up towards 7th Avenue and seeing Duke Ellington chasing Charlie Mingus up the street."
You love that. You're all about the lore.
I do love the lore, but you can't disconnect all of this with
most people do. Unless, you know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody's like, this is an essential jazz record, and you listen to it, how would you know that? You shouldn't have to go research that. If you love it, it's interesting to add that story on if you're a, you know, music nerd or whatever. But all
right, hold on.
I would just say Alan Douglas, and this is nothing personal. I don't really know. I mean, I know that he was, you know, assistant, like a runner for Duke in Paris.
Hold on. I don't want to miss the musical FU.
Oh yeah. Turn it up. This is a big one.
I love that you love these.
They're off there. Caravan is cool.
Killing.
You know?
That's great. Yeah. Okay, Alan Douglas.
Yeah.
Alan.
I mean, I also say that's a little bit of a letdown in terms of production, even them going on an argument, even this getting released like this. There's, you know, we don't talk about this enough in jazz, the production, the engineering, that's part of the team. This is not like we fall too much into just like,
I agree with
let the geniuses, whatever happens, they're going to transcend. Why? Why do we got to do that in jazz?
I do agree with this. I think it's kind of a shame we never got we only got like a couple Charlie Parker recordings that don't sound like total trash production-wise. Like, it would be great to get some kind of hi-fi recording of some of those older artists.
Yeah.
Even Art Tatum, man. It would be awesome to hear him on like a great piano recorded in a modern or even a context that, I mean, I guess later on it happened a little bit, but...
Yeah, this was not because of tech. I mean, by 1962, that was not because of technological.
No, you're right. Absolutely. We're past Kind of Blue here. We're past Time Out. We're past some of the most gorgeous sounding albums of all time.
Will you accept that? Yeah, and I'm not saying this should have been glossy or it should have even been like cavernous, like Kind of Blue. It's not about like, oh, it has to sound a certain way. But, and this is always objective, right? I mean, this is not objective. I'm sorry, subjective. This is just my opinion, but I'd be interested to know yours. The production on this record, how would you rate that?
Poorly.
That was exactly the word I was going to say, poor.
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't
like
sound great. Yeah.
Although D's get degrees, I was told recently.
D's do get degrees. Yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah. And so to me, I don't think you can have a great record without, maybe not, it doesn't have to be A-level production, but it becomes very difficult when it's a D. You know what I mean? For me.
It's true.
But it's all, sliding scale.
So we're only going to listen to the first, thank God, right? No, we're only going to listen to the first 7 tracks that were on the original LP, which you have here. By the way, I noticed your LP that you have in front of us, not opened. Is that because you're going to return it, Peter?
Well, no, I mean, I'm a little bit, I'm not a fan of Wax Time. And shout out, if I'm wrong, no, this is represented on Amazon. I hope, don't cancel my Prime account. I'm canceling it myself. Actually, I'm going to.
I didn't know you were such a Bezos head.
I'm not. No, I'm just saying they represented this as not original, like a new pressing that was licensed. This was fairly expensive. I was excited to get this because I wanted to dig back into it.
If they're going to send us free stuff, maybe Wax Time. Shout out.
No, I mean, but this is somebody that just stole it basically, and they're selling it on, and Amazon's letting them do it anyway. So I'm not going to return it, but I'm not going to open and celebrate an unauthorized reissue so nobody's getting publishing rights or anything like that.
Well, the second to last track on the original.
Oh, you didn't want to go deeper
LP
into that?
Pressing. Not really.
Debussy and
Debussy are on.
They're texting you right now.
Yeah, they're like,
shut up.
yeah. This is Caravan. Juan Tiesel's Caravan.
Yeah.
Woo, that's so good. Ah, man.
Feel the discomfort from Max Roach. I think maybe I'm reading into this.
No, absolutely.
I don't know what they're. It feels to me when Mingus to start it's not like because that can be so exciting to do that. It just does. They don't lock in on the idea of loosening up. They have a different. And I think that Max Roach, the way he starts this, is very. Are we getting to categories yet? Because that's
let's hit some categories. I want to hear the end because there's a good FU ending here.
Well, this is my. We got to go back earlier.
Okay,
so my apex moment is actually the very beginning of this. If we could play that just as a refresher.
This is also my apex moment.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, of the whole album.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Because this is when they're all locked in.
I love Duke's entrance. This is my apex moment.
That's great. The fact
that's
that
my
Max
favorite part
Roach
of the whole.
just sticks with what he's doing. Yeah. But the other half of my apex moment is the way this thing ends, and specifically the very last thing that Max Roach plays. But I think it kind of falls apart at the end, and maybe that's what they meant. Turn up, man. Don't be scared.
Is there a form thing going on here too?
I mean, Mingus is super menacing on this as well. We talked about that at the beginning. I think the form does get off on. They're just let Duke have it. Now that's an FU. That's an FU.
Or it's a
but it's a bookend. I mean, architecturally, it's great. But I just, at least, in my mind, it's like Duke's got this.
Look how much fun we're having listening to this album. You're telling me this isn't a great piece of art? All this discussion.
And then Mingus is jumping in. It's like, no, you don't need to do that. I mean, you're Charles Mingus, so you can, of course. But he's not needed. And then it's like, it's like ending. And like, I can just see Max Roach sitting there. And like, all right, y'all done yet? And then when they finally finish, he's like, just where I started it.
I honestly do want to know what's going on in Mingus's head as he's on this day in particular. What is he thinking when he's doing all this stuff? He's such a brilliant musician. He can do whatever he wants on that bass. But there's such odd choices throughout the whole thing.
I think there's some train wreck or car accident kind of moments, quite a few of them on the bass. And so there is that like, oh my gosh, what happened?
You know what?
Yeah.
You know, a problem with some of this is like when there's acrimony, right? When there's this kind of like personal tension between the personalities. I don't know if you've ever been in bands like this. I've been a part of bands like this. I try to keep myself out of the mud of this kind of stuff as much as I can. Yeah. Because I don't think it makes for like a good music or
you don't like conflict,
a healthy soul. I don't mind conflict, but no, I mean we have conflict all the time. But but when we have conflict, there's usually grace involved, right? Like and good faith. Like okay, maybe not on that. No, but you know what I mean? Like if you and I have conflict, which we're doing right now, right? I know that you're coming at it from a place of good intentions. There doesn't seem to be the case of that in this recording where there's not this grace given to each other. So when they're not locked in, it's not like, oh no, we're going to figure this out. It's going to work out. That tension is something to be resolved. It's just kind of like, no, F you.
And
we're going for it.
I agree. And it feels like to me, Duke Ellington, for most of this record, if not all of it, I mean, I haven't analyzed every minute, but I've listened to this a lot. Duke Ellington and Max Roach are approaching this like a piano trio recording and the way of playing. And it's not to mean like, oh, we're going to play like the olden days. No, like with all the possibilities that an assemblage of genius players, it's like if somebody's writing for a string quartet, they've been doing that for hundreds of years, but it doesn't mean you can't bring something new to it. But like that's the format. The piano trio is one of the greatest, most balanced. You have a big band, you have a concert band, you have a piano trio, you have a saxophone quartet. So different artists define it, but like the form is there. And so you have a lot of latitude within that. But like this just, they don't come together as a trio. I think that's my thing on this. Now, had they recorded another day when they weren't fighting, had they done more takes, again, production, I blame production on some of this. It's like, no, you've got Max Roach, Charles Mingus, and Duke Ellington. Like, this is close to a great, I don't think this is far from a great record. I just think because it's so much put up there is great. I'm like, no, don't let the producers off the hook. Don't let the artists off the hook either. In terms of like, don't you think those three could have they were supposed to do another record? They were on contract.
They had a contract for 2 records, then they could not get them to agree to another one because this was such a
so maybe it wasn't meant to be. But I know that 3 incredible instrumentals could come together. Now, is it going to be like tight, like the Oscar Peterson trio playing together for
no
rehearsing
after the gigs every time, spending time together, golfing together?
He can fall up into a situation like he does a week later and does pretty well. So I mean,
before we get to the last track, Solitude,
and Charles Mingus and Max Roach have proven on many recordings. You talk about Massey Hall back in 40 whatever with Dizzy and Charlie Parker. Yeah. They're locked in on that, so they know how to lock. I mean that.
I mean in the Charles Mingus quintet plus Max Roach, they're locked in.
Right. So to say that like, oh no, on this though, they're going for some other stuff. No, they're just not locked in.
It just wasn't happening.
What? Wait, what'd you say?
Okay. He's pulling. I'm trying to lift him up. He's pulling me down.
But I think that we owe it to this music to like say when it's not happening. It's not a train wreck or disaster. I know I use the car. There's parts of it that are, but that's okay. You know what I mean? Not if everything is great, then nothing's great, right?
Peter, before we get to the last track, I just want to talk a little bit about these last 2 songs, Caravan and Solitude. I know that you actually, I mean, if you want to get Peter Martin's take on this, you have lessons on both those songs on your course, Jazz Piano Method, here at Open Studio. We talk about, go to openstudiojazz.com for all your jazz lesson needs. If you don't know, this podcast is presented by a platform that you started, some years ago, in which you, me, great pianists like Aaron Parks, Emmett Cohen, Fred Hirsch, Sullivan Fortner, Jeffrey Keyser, teach lessons on, make video courses on, do live classes on. It's called Open Studio Jazz, and your course, the Jazz Piano Method, is our crown jewel. You do a new lesson every week. You've done several lessons on Caravan. I'm pretty sure you've done at least one lesson on Solitude.
Yes.
I know it's one of your faves.
I love it.
It's incredible, that course. So if you want to get Peter Martin's take on this great music, and by the way, a lot of Duke Ellington's music. In fact, we're currently in the middle of the Duke Ellington season.
That's right.
At Open Studio. This
Studio
whole
Pro.
winter, January, February, March, we've been working on Duke Ellington's music. I've been teaching Satin Doll and Take the A Train in our beginner jazz piano course called the Jazz Piano Foundations, new weekly lesson for me, and our intermediate jazz piano course, Jazz Piano Expansions. So if you want to learn more, you can start a 14-day trial by going to openstudiojazz.com/YHI. That's, you'll hear it, YHI. openstudiojazz.com/YHI for your jazz lessons.
And you said a 14-day trial. That sounds like it might be free.
It is free.
During the trial period.
A free trial. So it's like totally risk-free. You go, you check it out. If you don't like us, you don't like what we're talking about.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this social Open Studio bubble here?
We're not,
no one else
turn
is
the
here.
mics off.
It's a 14-day free trial, and then we actually have a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. So 30
give
plus
the store
14.
away, Peter.
No, but I'm just saying, we want people that love your lessons, love my lessons, love somebody's. We've got just like not every album's for everybody, not every teacher, but we got some of the great ones that are putting stuff out there. But we only want people that this is a good fit. So come on in. It's totally risk-free.
By the way, we've got an incredible community of musicians there. We've got this community called The Hang, where we have all of these discussion groups going on.
Oh, we're going to have a discussion about that. I know that's going to happen.
There's arguments about albums, just like we're having here today. Yeah. Again, go to openstudiojazz.com/YHI to start your 14-day free trial. Back to the show. Do you have a Desert Island track? Is it Take the Coltrane?
I mean, Solitude, there's no track on here that, Solitude, but there's so many other versions of this I'd rather hear. Maybe Fleurette, Africaine, because this is, really pretty. You know what? This is not my, that's such a stunning composition.
Yeah.
This is not my favorite version of this. Huh. Could I call an audible and have us play a little something?
Sure.
Nora Jones.
What?
Playing, this is, you know what? Because it's with Nora Jones, who I love, piano, John Patitucci, Sumi I love, I believe it's John Patitucci on it, and Wayne Shorter. And I think, and this is not about this, I just think it's an interesting version of it.
Yeah, Nora.
Who's this on? Oh, it's Blade. Brian Blade.
Brian Blade.
Yeah.
Patitucci on bass?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
We gotta do some Nora Jones, man. That'd be a fun episode.
Yeah. Nora, great pianist.
All right, yeah, no, I feel you.
Yeah. And so that's my thing of like,
so
but
that's
that would
your
probably,
Desert Island?
Well, no, Fleurette, Africa, from the Money Jungle version would probably be my one.
Okay.
There's some places in there where I'm like, what? But
I'm going Wigwise. I just love this. And to me, this is, I
Great
think
song.
of Money Jungle. This is Money Jungle.
Yeah. What's going on? That's a good call. That would be my second
I think
one.
both of our apex moments was the intro to Caravan. Bespoke playlist.
And the ending.
What do you got?
Records that should not be on essential lists.
Okay.
Jazz records.
So it's a weird,
I just made that up.
It's a weird playlist to make. I have jazz supergroups because it's kind of a supergroup. Yeah. Okay, so do you have any Quibble bits?
No, I couldn't find it. Oh, we got them. Oh my God. Is there anybody here still producing this? I think we're alone in the studio. Do I have any Quibble bits? Yes, the production.
This whole episode has been
I feel I've never gone negative like this. I feel bad.
No. Can I just say, Peter, I'm so proud of you for actually being honest and giving your actual opinion on how you feel about it. It's great.
We have so much, and we've explored the great art. Max Roach is someone
going to get some hate for this.
Well, no, that's fine. All three of these great artists have other things that I love.
For sure.
And so Max Roach, we've probably talked about the least. We have, but we haven't done we got it. We're going to do Max Roach and Clifford Brown. That was his thing almost. It was a partnership with Clifford Brown. Some of the greatest recordings ever made of vintage.
We said it at the top, Max Roach is one of the greatest drummers who ever lived.
I just feel like it's a disservice if we go, and look, if this is, what's the thing of don't dog out somebody's doggy bite or whatever that is?
Don't yuck on someone else's yum.
Yeah. That's another way of saying it. So if you love this is great. I would just say, anyway, don't love it just because you're supposed to, because you have license. You know what you're supposed to love? Stuff that you love, okay?
My quibble bit is that I think...
I didn't get to my quibble bit.
Oh, what's your quibble bit?
No, I'm just kidding. We
know what your quibble bits are.
Yep.
My quibble bit is that I honestly do think this is best experienced with just the original 7 tracks. Now, there are 4 other tracks that have been on subsequent releases since the original LP, and they're all good, but because this is so intense, it's such an experience. It is very emotionally draining, this album, a little bit.
Yeah,
that
I agree.
The 30 minutes, the 7 tracks, ending with Solitude, I think is the key to this. I've been listening to this in the build-up of this episode in that way. And I listened to it once all the way through, including all of like the alternate takes and everything,
too.
which I
didn't do it with all the
I never liked those.
No.
But I really appreciate the original sort of 7-track version of this that is shorter, and it is like a little bit more of a intense but thrilling short experience. So that's my quibble bit.
I agree. I'm a little surprised that your biggest quibble bit is that it's not presented. I mean, I think like there's bigger quibble bits than that, but I will say this: the way the ending on Solitude is genius. Yeah. Like there's so much genius built into the compositions, I think. Yeah. That to me saves it. But the way that it ends at the end of Solitude is actually appropriate. That kind of represents this record to me. Like it's a very
Mingus barges in on the one.
Yeah, it's a very honest, like there's acrimony in this. It's just, to me, it's so difficult because Solitude is like the least acrimonious song written, maybe.
Now the way Duke starts it too is very like introspective
and
and beautiful.
Africaine, one of the, so there's so much beauty here. It's just a weird, like kind of.
I have other quibble bits, mostly with the sound quality, but we talked about
sound quality is poor. Yeah, and the piano tuning is poor. Did I mention that?
Snobometer. How snobby is this album?
I mean, this is a 10.
I love it.
I think
he's off the 5.
Although it may be a 1 actually.
No, it's a 10.
Okay, it's a 10.
I have it as a 9. I think it's incredibly snobby. I do think if you're actually like genuinely trying to understand jazz, this is a tough entry. This would be a really hard,
and an irresponsible entry. A little bit, I think but it's almost a faux, as in FAUX snob 10.
I think it's totally subjective, man. I think there are people who genuinely love this album for like totally valid reasons. I like this album.
But the thing
it's not one of my favorites, but I do like listening to it. I have loved listening to it in the past. And
sorry, did I ruin it for you?
No. It's just when I was younger, I really was like this. I was a little bit more of like, oh, this is so cool that they're doing this crazy stuff.
Let's start over at the beginning. Let me give it a different. Can we listen to the first song again? I think I need to listen to this.
Yeah, let's start over. No, is it better than K.O.B.? Kind of Blue. Is it better than Miles Davis's Kind of Blue? Now, usually you put It's Even.
No, No, come on. That was like Intervisions or something. Come on, man.
Is it better than Kind of Blue?
No, it's not.
No, I have nah.
But would the ultimate jazz snob say yes, just because
I'm sure some people like it more.
Clean. Yeah, which is fine. Don't yuck on my yum.
Accoutrements.
I mean, Accoutrements, I'm going to go 9.
Yeah, I got 8. I think it's really strong.
I would be damn near 10. If I didn't have the
almost a perfect
the wax time version, I might.
I actually can't think of a better title than Money Jungle. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I mean the image and like
it's poetry.
It does exhibit a little bit of the acrimony that was in the studio, but just a little. I mean, you don't want that to. You don't want it, be like a YouTube thumbnail. At each other's throats.
What do you got up next?
Oh, that microphone there and the stand. This is high level design here. Up next, okay, so the obvious choice is Duke Ellington and John Coltrane.
That's what I have.
Was up the next week, but I'm actually going to go to a record called Piano Reflections, which
great call.
Which was, I believe, from like 1953 or 54.
54, yeah,
something.
Duke Ellington trio, yeah.
Incredible trio record. Like if you like this, but you're like, there's some weird stuff around it. Like I was saying, I think you'll love that because everything is placed. So, look, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, okay, Boomer, you got to have it all clean and antiseptic and with a little bow on it." I don't know. Yeah, to me, that. But again, different strokes for different folks. Different strokes for different folks in this world. Silver spoons. Well, confusing.
Peter, this has been a blast, man. It really has been fun.
Have we ever disagreed this much in an episode?
No, we've never disagreed this much, and I've loved every second of it.
Yeah.
I wish we had more albums that we disagreed on because it's really fun, and I think you did a really good job of voicing your case, and I hope I did a good job of voicing my case because I really like all the tension and the weirdness of it, but I get why you don't.
So my only ask for you is that just give your honest opinion of this. Don't be like, don't think this is a record that you should like because somebody who you think is more important or less important. You know, just like,
also,
how do you like it?
By the way,
if you love
don't
it,
think that this is a record that you shouldn't like just because someone that is more experienced tells you not to like it.
No, I'm not telling anyone not to like it. I'm just saying, be honest about it. And this is coming from experience. I was not honest about this. Like, I kept saying, I gotta like it. And I do like, I think I expressed the parts that I like.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm like, it's all right.
Well, until next time.
You'll hear it.